You know, new bars and restaurants are super cool. Everybody likes a $20 Cosmopolitan with something hanging out of the edge of the glass that you've never imagined before in gold dust. But you know what's really, really cool? Restaurants that house the history of a community inside their walls. Today, we're going to see my friend Gary Meadows, who's a fourth-generation owner of Wally's restaurant on Macaulay, opened in 1937. Times they are a-changing in our town. We're losing institutions like Nicky's and Town and Country and Zarzar, so it's now more important than ever to support places like Wally's. We went there today to talk to Gary about how his business is going, and it's booming, and why that is. Success isn't accidental, but what business owners think worked and what actually worked are usually two different things. Hi, I'm Arch Trimble, and this is the Volunteer Roadmap, where we map out what works for Tennessee businesses, one town at a time. I'll figure out what really worked and show you the pattern behind their success so you can see what's holding your business back. Let's hit the road. You know, in a world of rosé and charcuterie boards and constant change, we never talk about community institutions and landmarks that are ubiquitous where you live. Today, I'm here with my good friend, Gary Meadows, the owner of Wally's Restaurant. And for those of you guys that know me, know that this is where I spend all my free time away from my home. I eat a protein bar unless I'm eating at Wally's. He lets me get away with more in this building than I probably deserve. But I'm here because I believe that Gary offers us a unique vision into one of the best small businesses that I've ever known, a place that I bring multiple generations of my family. So Gary Meadows, welcome to the Volunteer Roadmap.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me to sit down and talk about our little business that we have here. So really appreciate it.
Yeah. So everybody that's around the Chattanooga area is familiar with Wally's. A lot of people knew about the other Wally's out in East Ridge that Gary's brother owned. This is the last one that's left. I will never say this is my fortress of solitude, right? And I've already had my Waterloo. So this is my Alamo. If anybody ever comes for me, I'm going to be here. But I think it's important to let everybody know why. I think it's very important, A, to support small businesses, but the relationships that I've built in this community are second to none. This is where I go when I'm not having a good day. It's where I go when I'm having a big day. My mom still comes in here to pick up my grandfather's food. I bring my kids in here, and I get treated like family. But I come back more than that because it's a quality business and because somebody like Gary and his family are here supporting the community. So Gary, why don't you tell us a little background about Wally's?
So Wally's recently became the oldest restaurant in Chattanooga with the unfortunate closing of another longtime establishment, Zarzar's, which I know those folks and was a really great business and had a lot of the same qualities and mindset that we have. So we became the oldest restaurant in Chattanooga, opened in 1937 from the original Wally Alexander. Wally ran the restaurant. It was a drive-in, had curbside service and burgers and shakes and French fries and hot dogs was their mainstay. He ran and operated up until about 1970-ish, and then he decided to sell to a longtime employee of his called Mr. Best. Sorry, I don't really know his first name. It's always been referred to as Mr. Best.
Okay.
So Mr. Best worked here. Wally wanted to get out. Mr. Best wanted to take over. He took over, and back in those days, they didn't really do the banking, so Wally kind of held the note for Mr. Best, and they kind of worked it out with a handshake. So he owned and operated, and then Tony Kennedy moved to Chattanooga in 1970. And when Tony moved to Chattanooga, he met my parents, ended up being lifelong family friends, and Tony purchased Wally's in 1975. Owned and operated kind of the same menu and different things. And then in 78, 79, the numbers, the years are a little bit fuzzy, but he actually started and transitioned over into meats and vegetables, which is, known as Meat and Three.
That's why I'm here today.
Yes, absolutely. So Meat and Three, a lot of the younger generation You say meet and three to them, and they look at you like, "Oh, what's that?" They don't understand what a meet and three is. So Tony transitioned over into the meet and three. Had a Friday night, Saturday night catfish special, and all you can eat catfish. And he owned and operated. My older brother, who had our East Ridge location, started working for Tony when he was about 14 years old. And then I started working for Tony when I was about 15. And like I said, longtime family friends. Him and my parents were really good friends. And Tony kind of took us in and taught us the business. And little we know at that time, but he had a plan for us for the future, and which we were very, very fortunate to have. But Tony taught us a lot. Tony was a very, very well-respected businessman in Chattanooga. Matter of fact, his whole family was. He was one of 12 children, 10 boys and 2 girls, and just about every one of them that moved to Chattanooga and in other cities that they went to owned some sort of business. I think you had like J.L. Kennedy had a car wash. B.D. Kennedy had Kennedy Jewelry over off of Main Street. They had Ralph Kennedy, who owned the Dairy Queen that used to be down on the corner.
That's right.
Yep. So they were very well versed in business. And so Tony owned and operated up until, the years are kind of about 2014-ish. He kind of came to me and said, "Hey, it's time for me to kind of step away, and this is your future." And of course, I had some sweat equity in as well, as did my brother. We did back up a little bit. So in '89, we did purchase the Wally's in East Ridge, which was a country place restaurant owned by the Trussell family. But Tony and my brother purchased that location, and Mother's Day of 1989 was the day we took over. Was our first day of business. And if you ever were in Wally's at Mother's Day on Sundays over there, it was pretty crazy. So for us to take over the first day, it was a wild and crazy day for the first day of operation under the flagship of Wally's.
I believe that. Anybody that knows Chattanooga knew how great the Kennedy family was. Actually, a sidebar, I played tennis with one of the Kennedy granddaughters in high school. We dated around for a little bit, and much younger. I had hair at that point in my life. So, that's why I love Chattanooga. It's why I love Wally's. It's such a small community. And you and I have talked about it over the years that, like, Wally's is a slice of America. I'd rather just say a slice of Tennessee because we're talking about volunteer stuff here, right? Every time I come in here, I'm sitting with people that work for Chattanooga Department of Transportation. I'm sitting with doctors. I'm sitting with lawyers. Gary knows I have a standing lunch date in here with an old circuit court judge and the current circuit court clerk. And there's folks like that are luminaries in our community sitting next to just people like me, right? Just everyday individuals. Business happens here, relationships happen here. But one of the things that I absolutely love here, and we talked about it before, is that, this building at Wally's where we're sitting is the restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. But the pseudo city hall used to be right out the back door over there. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've, down through the years, I've had lots of folks that are retired politicians and different things, and city leaders, and just all from all walks of life, like you said. But so we it's actually we use it as a stock building now. Yeah. But back in the day, it was where Mr. Wally had his office, and it was called the Little White House. And supposedly there were a lot of decisions that were made with Chattanooga government and Chattanooga in general in that building. That if anything wanted to get done, or if you needed something done, then kind of had a little meeting in that building. So I think it, again, we've talked to lots of folks. You come in our front door and you see a kind of a hallway or walls of history, and Luther Massengale and all the different folks and celebrities and politicians and different things, but that have eaten here, that have spent time, that have made relationships, that have got business done. It's a very unique thing about Wally's. It's not only the food, but it's the things that come along with having lunch.
Yeah, I was walking around, and I'm in here a lot. I had breakfast in here this morning. I was walking around with my podcast producer, and she's amazing. And she was asking, what are some of the pictures on the wall? And we're obviously missing one with me. Maybe at some point we'll get one. But she pointed at Luther, right, with that picture of Pat Rose. And if you're a Chattanoogan, you know that picture with Pat Rose and with Luther sitting in front of the courthouse, right? And the statute of limitations is run because everybody associated with this is now dead. But Luther was a good family friend of the Trimbles. My dad was one of five. The three oldest had passed away. And his middle brother, Tom, who I miss dearly, did not like barking dogs at all. And you remember Luther used to have that thing on the radio, Basset Hound missing in East Ridge. And dadgum, that Basset Hound will come back every time. And so before he died, my uncle told me, and I said, why you got all your neighbors' numbers up on the wall there? I mean, it's like a daggum Rolodex, right? And he goes, barking dogs. And then he made a comment, and I'll never forget this to this day. And I told it to my granddad, and he just started laughing. And I said, so why do you do that? He goes, because if they don't fix it, he goes, I'll pick that dog up and I'll take it to a nice neighborhood on the other side of Monte Eagle Mountain. I said, why the hell you do that? He goes, because it gets them out of Luther range. The dogs never came home. Yes. But he was adamant that it was a very nice neighborhood. So that's my anecdotal Luther Massengale story today, who always, as they said, had a face for radio.
Yes.
But Gary makes a good point, right? I'm looking at a picture on the wall with another Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame, Ben Cagle. I see he and Earl in here all the time. This is a place that, yeah, sure, it's been super great for folks of Tony's generation. But I come in here now, and what I get excited about is I don't know where these kids are coming from, maybe from UTC, but I come in here in the mornings on Saturdays, and it's a little bit of a younger clientele. Where are they coming from?
It is. A lot of it too is UTC. We offer a little discount for those guys to come in. It's last year's student ID, and you get a little bit of a discount. Then that's, to help them out, but to get more folks in the door as well. And you'll be surprised that a lot of it is second and third generations they were brought here when they were, kids, when they were 7, 8, 9 years old, and they grew up here. They sat in a high chair here at a table. And then when they get older and they're old enough, or they're right down the road at UTC or whatever. So a lot of it is second, third generation people. But a lot of it too is, I feel like that we are in today's world, that we try to be a very affordable option. And, sometimes you can't really go for $15, but you can get at Wally's. You can't really get that at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah. So I was talking randomly. My son played baseball with another restaurant owner's kid in town a couple of years ago. And you would know this man owns a bunch of franchises around, deals in the chicken business. And he told me, he goes, Arch, when I started this, you come in and you get lunch with a tip and you'd walk out for less than $10.
Absolutely.
And then it became $15. And this was 2 years ago. And he goes, now it's minimum $20. And I think that's something that all small businesses suffer, especially ones in F&B, but you're not immune to it, right? You're thriving here, but my guess is your cost of goods sold are going up, your prices are going up, and your margins shrink unless you do something to fix that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The cost of goods has gone up. Cost of everything has gone up, but we really try to keep it, the affordability side of it, because the clientele, a lot of our clientele, obviously we have an older establishment. And so I tell my staff, I said, listen, we're going to we try to keep it where we can, but obviously at times you do have to go up. And I'm with you. I remember when you would walk in here, and I remember my meat and three,
yep.
Which, our menu, we have our daily special insert that we put in, and, our meat and three was $9.25, $9.25, $9.50, that we had to do. And you can't do that anymore. But we do it as much as we can. One of the things that, and it's not a major thing, but we keep it very simple. We're not computerized. We're not going to be computerized.
Thank God for that.
Yes, absolutely. We don't have some pricey system that we got to put in, and computers, we're going to be old school. That kind of helps. And we also kind of do a little different things. We'll run a special here and there, but we try to also the things that we purchase. Just a little side note of that, we probably buy about 80% of our goods from Chattanooga Restaurant Supply, which is local.
Yeah.
It's very important for us to go that route. There are bigger companies that you could probably we could probably save a little bit there because it's a bigger nationwide company. But for me, it takes away a little. I would rather deal with Chattanooga Restaurant Supply. They're literally about 2 miles down the road from us. I got a great relationship with them. If I'm short on something, I can pick up the phone and boom, they got it here in 10 minutes, or I can run and grab it in 10 minutes.
That's part of why I love doing this podcast so much, is more people that we talk to, the more we realize that partnerships mean everything, right?
Absolutely.
Like, sure. You can go save a nickel by shopping it out at US Foods or something else like that. But when push comes to shove, if you got a problem, they're right down the road. And being able to go see somebody matters. And if you take care of them, generally they're going to take care of you back, right?
Yep, absolutely. And kind of go back to Tony. Tony taught me a long time ago, and it's not only customers and it's not only your employees, but it's people that you do business with. We are with a company, our dish machine that we lease our dish machine, and we've been with that company for 40 plus years. Sure, there may be somebody out there that's probably a little bit cheaper, but that's who we're going to go with. So I try to treat those things. They're very special. The relationships matter. But Tony always said, you take care of people and people take care of you. And so we do that with employees. We do that with our relationships with our vendors. And we also try to do that with our customers.
You made a good point. It's penny wise and pound foolish, right?
Right.
If you're trying to shave a nickel everywhere you go, you lose sight of the big picture. Now, you brought up something that I absolutely love, right? I come in here a lot, not because I love your smiling face. The food's great. It's contributed significantly to my expanding waistline. I'm very happy for it. But the ladies that work here are some of the finest human beings ever, and they hustle. And they were in here when I came in for breakfast, and they were here up until a couple of minutes ago. And all the time that I've been coming here, not a whole lot of faces changed, right?
Right.
So why don't you tell me key to success? How do you keep these people around so long?
Well, I would like to be mean and say nobody else would take them.
I understand that. They've already left. They're
already gone.
This
Yeah,
in a little while, we're going to get the heat from
there's
it,
none of them around. But when they see this later, I'll yeah. No, again, it kind of goes back to what Tony said. Is he taught me, you take care of people. I've had servers down through the years that have raised their families, their kids. They put kids through college, and that's being a server.
Yeah.
And they take pride in what they do. So it is. It is. You're right. They're the first person you see when you walk in the door, and they're the last person you see when you leave. And so I've got some attitudes.
Yes,
I've got
do.
some personalities, and we've got a lot of a great collection of that makes everything. But at the end of the day, we all work towards that common goal. And yeah, it's not perfect. Is there some little snippiness here and snippiness there? Absolutely, there is in any business or any venture that you're doing. But we all work towards that common goal. And I will say this: they are. I eat out a lot. Me and my family. We eat out a lot, and sometimes you go out to eat, and they're a good server, but you're kind of missing something with them. They don't really, and I kind of like to maybe joke and cut up with a server, and sometimes they look at you like
they don't get your jokes like you think they do, right? Yeah, my wife tells me that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they look at you like I'm not here for that. That's not what I'm here for. But the ladies here, I think people appreciate that. That's what they're here for.
I won't dime out one of my ladies, but I had a friend who's still a friend. I just don't bring him in here anymore. Come in and eat lunch with me a couple of years ago, and he was trying to get me to support this school board candidate. It wasn't from here. Really nice guy, good individual, but he worked for Waffle House, and he saw how great this particular lady was, and she is. They're all great. And he started trying to sell against Wally's. And my head about exploded. And the cool thing is she looked right at him and she's like, "Nah, I'm real happy where I'm at." And you got active competition in here, and they're not going anywhere because of the way you and your family treat them. But I have I cannot tell you how many times I have walked in here and run into somebody that I needed to talk to that day for something else. And they were sitting in this restaurant. One of my close mentors, Don Haynes, that's in here a lot. His dad was big red food guy, right before Bilo and Food City. He's like me. He eats in here religiously. And if he's ever out of town for work for a little while, he'll come back in, and it's not, what do you want to eat? It's, where have you been? I've been nervous. You don't get that anywhere else anymore. And you talked about Zarzars. My Candy was asking, one of our ladies here that helps us with Breakfast Club every month, is your grandfather's wife your grandmother? Well, she sure is. She wasn't originally, but she was a Zarzar. And so I got to see all of that, and Dixie's an interesting character, right? But I think you guys offer something that they could never offer. Zarzar's was the oldest, but you guys are the best community spot that I know of in this town. I spend a lot of time, as you know, traveling around Tennessee, and I think it's because probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, Mr. Kennedy didn't have to help you and your brother out a lot, but he saw how hard you worked, and he wanted to pass on something that he believed in this community to you. Right. And then I walk in here today, and your wife's in here, and your son's in here almost every day, Bustin'. Maybe not working as hard as you think he ought to work, but when I was his age, he
could always do more.
Yeah, I hear that in the back of my head repeated over and over again. And like, my hope is that when you get done in 30 or 40 years and you want to just go play
30
golf,
or 40.
Well, yeah, I mean, long runway for you, right? Like, you're a young man, Gary. You got a lot of hard working to do. Like, my assumption is you're gonna want to turn this loose to one of them if they're willing to work hard.
Absolutely. So I've got 2 boys. Cade actually is in Morgantown, West Virginia, our oldest son, working at the university. And then my youngest son, Lane, is working here with me. Cade actually worked here a couple of summers. And at that time, restaurant business wasn't for him. And so he decided at that point that, you know, he was going to pursue something else, which was great. And he did. But Lane kind of worked here as, again, turned 16, first job. He came to work and he loved it and loved hamming it up with the guys in the kitchen and the girls and, you know, back and forth. And he's a little bit like me. He's got, you know, a personality and, you know, a little snippy here and there. And so he kind of fits the mold. And so, yeah, the plan is down the road that he, learns the tricks of the trade and learns the trade and learns the business. And he's already doing great with that. He's been here 3 years now, right out of when he graduated high school, full time. So doing really, really good in that. My beautiful, lovely wife, which is the real true boss of the restaurant.
We all know how that goes. Yeah, the decision maker, the bill payer, everything.
I have a title, but it's
on paper.
I get it. It's just empty. It doesn't mean anything. She actually comes in. She manages, helps me dealing with just some different stuff that's, you know, ladies conflicts or whatever the case may be. But she also helps with the financial side of it and bills. And, you know, she's a lot smarter with that than I am. So as you know, which I'm not too scared to admit. So she handles all that aspect of it for me. And it's been a really big help. So, yeah, so we've really, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's a family run business, but you know, when you peel it all back, we really are a family run business.
So you're talking to a guy like me that came from one of the 4-generation family insurance business, and I was like your oldest, right? I didn't have no interest in this. Boy, I mean, it was awful. I just like watching paint dry. Sure enough, found myself doing it. But when I was a kid, it was the coolest thing ever in my life because I would go into Trimble Insurance. And my great-granddad, who was the assessor of property shortly before I was born, was sitting in the back. And then my granddad. And my grandmother that ran the books and did all the bonds. And my mother, who retired from a Petway Oil Company early on, made it for like 6 months. And my dad's like, hey, I need some part-time help. And by God, she worked for 20 years after that. So everywhere I went in that building, you know, I was king of the world. But I got to see like how family businesses operate. My dad had some brothers that were part owners in the company. Some of the hardest working guys I've ever known. The smartest one, my Uncle Frank, got out, sold real estate. Only smart Trimble that we've had in this generation. But it's so cool to see people investing in the next generation. And I think that if you don't forget where you came from, because look, you from here. We were the Dynamo of Dixie, right? The dirtiest, nastiest town in the South, by God, but we could build and manufacture stuff. Well, all that's gone, right? So how do we continue to not bring the jobs here, how are you able to keep your kids here if there's not the same great opportunities that there were before? So we talked briefly about the other Wally's location in East Ridge, and I do miss it because it was closer to Martin Boyd, and we used to hold board meetings there, and Wally's was open in the evenings, and it didn't matter what happened at that board meeting. I knew I was going to eat real well, and I think that's where Candy came from too. But when your brother sold it, he probably did. My hope is he did okay selling the place out of there.
Right.
But it's one of those law of unintended consequences, right? He took left in the woods, you took a right. So at his point in his life, he wanted to do that, but you got some of that overspill. So it's not just Wally's, right? There's catering involved. Tell me how big of a part catering in the operation that you've got plays in what you do here.
Yeah. So my brother at the East Ridge store, just kind of touch on that a little bit. He was there about 34 years, and they went 7 days a week.
Yep.
Different location, obviously different kind of a setup of the basic of the business was the same.
They had a buffet too.
They had a buffet. Yeah. They were more meeting rooms. He had 4 different meeting rooms. He had, 2 big rooms that they could seat up to, I think it was up to 200 people or so that he could put in that room. And so he was more, that business was more that. Obviously I've only got 1 meeting room, which you guys use for your,
Thank
Friday
you, by
morning.
the way.
Yes,
please don't kick me out. I got
absolutely.
nowhere else to go.
Yeah. But listen, there's no future that we're going to be naming it the Arch Trimble Room or anything like that. So don't get too excited.
That means I have to die for something like that to happen. I'm not ready to go yet.
Well, if you write a big enough check, I'll put whatever name you want.
We'll talk that off camera though, of course.
All right. Thank you. But when my brother got into some other business ventures that he wanted to get into later. And then he just kind of got an opportunity that he just couldn't pass up. So once he sold, it was as much as when the story got out, obviously we had phone calls and customers, or you guys closing, and I can't not we had to tell everybody no, and people called and we're Wally's going to help you.
My heart stopped.
Yes. Are you guys still open? Yes, we're still open. We have no future. No promise of anything, but there's
nowhere tomorrow.
There's no plans to sell. Yeah. Like I said, I've got another generation. His kids, he's got 2 kids. Neither one of them really had a major interest in the business. And so, he didn't really have a exit plan. So his exit plan kind of came to him.
Sometimes that works out though,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. 100%. And good on him. He's enjoying life and still dabbling around with his other business ventures that he started when he was finishing up at the restaurant. So as much as it was bad for that staple of East Ridge to close, we actually benefited from that.
That's
ourselves.
What I wanted to talk about, because you guys picked up some stuff out of that.
We did. We picked up some key employees. I picked up, I think, two servers and then a kitchen, my manager, Steve Senafont. Yeah. And so we picked that up, which has really been a big help for us. And we were already doing some catering. Catering was probably about, 10 to 15% of what we do. And then they were more set up because they were open in the evenings, and then they had the parties, and then just the size of their operation and the size of their building, they were doing larger caterings. Like, for example, Silverdale Baptist Church, they have a women's ministry, and it used to be called the Women's Tea, but I think it's called Illuminate. And so it's 400 ladies a night for 4 straight nights.
Goodness gracious.
Right in 1st of December.
Okay.
So they were doing that. And obviously when they closed, that came to us. And now they have actually expanded that operation that Silverdale. Now they've got multiple campuses. And so this year for the first time, we did 3 locations, 2 different nights here out of this restaurant, which is, if people saw the size of our kitchen, and then we're not only just doing catering, but we're also doing to that day's business.
Yeah, you're running a restaurant.
We're running a restaurant, a full-blown restaurant. So we did pick up the best thing that we got from them was obviously the employees. Yeah, they've really added and fit well into what we do, and they just kind of came in. It was a very seamless transition for them. He really struggled just a side note, he really struggled with the sale of it.
They had to,
Yeah,
right?
he did, because it was,
that's family. That's a part of you.
yeah, it's a part of you. Like I said, he started when he was 15. He did it for a lot of years, and it's just it's a part of you. But yeah, it was the next chapter for him.
Yeah.
But as in any business, you hate to see it go, but you also have to understand the other side of it, of someone that's been doing it as long as they have. And we've gotten a lot of their customers as well. Again, they were a little bit of a different, like you said, they had a buffet, full buffet and a full menu. COVID really kind of did a number on them.
That was what, and you and I never really talked about that, but that's kind of the way the restaurant was set up. And Wally's, is your classic American diner, but as Gary said, they had big meeting rooms, and all of a sudden in COVID,
there was no big meetings.
There was no big meetings.
Yeah, and then buffets went away. That nobody wanted to go to a buffet,
and they still haven't come back really.
Yeah, understandable. I get it.
I get it.
He tried to transition from full buffet to full menu, table service, like what we do, and they were good at it.
Yeah,
but it's just hard to train customers that's been eating off a buffet in your place for 30 years, and now all of a sudden it's different.
You say something like that, and we talked about change being inevitable, and like business, you have to be constantly evolving, but what you do, you can't change. That setup that you have, the quality, the affordability, and the camaraderie, if you start monkeying with that, you got real problems. And as you said, like, your brother was doing a tremendous job over there, blowing and going, and then he pivoted, did exactly the right thing. But at some point, that horse has been drinking a little bit of different water. And
absolutely,
as well as I do, with the clientele that you're operating in, and I used to deal with an assisted living facility, it's a little bit antiquated from time to time, and change is very difficult. And I've always thought that was just so strange that in small businesses like this, and it's not just like yours, but in family businesses, the heart and the core of what you have, if you change that, you never know what's going to happen, but rarely does it end up well. But you said about your brother and him having a little bit of an issue turning loose. I had the same thing, right? When my dad died, I was left with a decision. So I told him I never wanted to do insurance. Hey, it's absolutely terrible. I miss some of the people. Lord, I don't miss slinging them damn policies though.
Yeah.
But a couple of years after it, I'd run it and done pretty well, and I had a couple of offers to buy it. And I went to my granddad, who had started what I believe to be my family legacy, sort of like what you have here at Wally's. And I was tore up from the floor up, right? I was like, I can't be the one that makes this thing go away.
That stops it.
And he looks at me and he goes, your dad already sold it once. He goes, if it goes away, I believe you're making the right decision for what you need in your family. I just realized at that point, he's my granddad, he's going to tell me whatever, but he knew a whole lot more about business and change than I do, because he realized that like the way things had been done weren't the way that it was going to be going forward. So I admire what you guys have done here. I come in every single day, the menu inserts in there at the right time. If not, Terry screaming at somebody, but it's consistency. Yeah. I know what I'm going to get here. I've never had anything bad here. When I order it, I know it's weird. I never thought I'd be one of those old crotchety people. I just know what I'm going to get. That's why I keep coming back, because it's that comfort, right?
Well, and I want to, I had no doubt that my brother at the East Ridge location, and that's the last thing I'll say with that, and that he could have got it back. Not that it went away, but he could have pivoted. And listen, my brother is 8 years older than me, and he taught me a lot in this business, in this world as well. And he was a mentor to me as well as a big brother. Still did some big brother things to me, but he was a mentor.
That's what we do.
Yes, absolutely. But there was no doubt, but with the timing of it, with COVID, trying to pivot, to come back from that, trying to change, and then the offer that walked through the door, it was a no-brainer.
And when different community than it used
and
to
when
be.
he called me and was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "Dude, it's time.
Yeah,
it's time. Just I get it. It's time.
Yeah.
If you're because of everything that you had to do, but not only to his point of him being able to bring that business back, but and this is one of the great things that I love about what has been built here. And yes, I was a minor part of building it, but the people that came before me, the Wally Alexanders and the Tonys of the world that built this what it is, that one of the things I love about it is it's not only that people come in here to eat, but they come in here to support us. And to me, there's a difference.
I think so.
Right? There's a difference because you can go somewhere and you can spend your dollar somewhere, but to go and to support a place is that I think it's a different mindset.
No.
And we have been supported, and the community in East Ridge would have came back and supported.
There's no doubt.
100%. And we had that, quick story, when we burned in 98.
Yep.
Which
I remember.
Which we burned
vividly
twice in our history. But December 98, I stood right over there on that corner across the street and watched the firefighters, Chattanooga firemen, bust through the door, and it set off the big flame and everything caved in. And of course, at that time, Tony said, he did an interview with one of the local TV stations, and they asked him, said, and Tony was older at that point, and they asked about rebuilding, what's the plans? And he said, well, we will rebuild. No question. Done. But during that time, we set up a different number for folks to call to give information, updates of when we're going to be opening and different things. But I remember there were funds that were set up, a lot of EPB guys that ate in here, Bell South folks. There were City of Chattanooga workers that wanted to donate, not to me, not to rebuild, but they wanted to donate to the waitresses.
The staff.
And they wanted to donate to my staff, my kitchen workers. And so to me, that showed, if I didn't understand it then, what this place means to this city, I understood it after that.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to take care of them because they wanted to make sure that they were okay and they didn't go somewhere else or they weren't needing for anything, that when it was rebuilt, they could come back in here and see those faces.
So we talked about the breakfast club I had here that was started by Stan Settles, the great Stan Settles,
Yes.
our close friend.
Absolutely.
And he told me something one day, and this is why I love you so much. He said, Gary, you'll never sell the farm. And it made me happy. But this thing's grown over the last few years. And what makes me proud about it, this is my home, right? Like I'm never leaving here. You have to drag me out. But at least half, if not more, of that group comes in here and eats independently now.
Right.
Because they understand that this place matters to the community.
Right.
One of the largest gripes I have, and this is not with you, and this is not a political thing. Madison made me promise not to get too political, but like I sit here and I talk to these ladies that I consider my family, and they're telling me about problems they have because they're frontline workers, right? Like you're a successful businessman. Building burns down, you got insurance. We're going to put it back together. We're going to do what business people have to do. But guess what? Those ladies are left out.
Right.
Every time some clown in DC makes a decision and triples their healthcare premiums,
Right.
that's triple the tips and triple the business that they have to do. And these ladies are in here every single day. And they're in here all day. And they got a smile on their face even when they have a bad day. And they're good to me even when I know that they don't have the energy. And that's why I love this place so much is because of that community support that comes here. Candy asked me about my granddad. Terry asked me about my mom. People care about my family the same way I care about them. And that's always been my rule in Breakfast Club. And I'll give some of the secret sauce out right now, but I only got 2 rules. You don't trash talk other members of the club, and you support Wally's individually. If you do that, it's hard to upset my apple cart. When I come in here and I'm meeting with one of those wonderful clowns that I adore so much, and there's 3 other ones eating in here, or we'll eat Breakfast Club and they got another meeting and another breakfast, nothing makes me smile, man. You tell me if they're not tipping well, because I swear there will be some haranguing involved.
I wouldn't have to address that.
No, I know that.
Because the ladies would address that.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So you're right. It is. And it is and sometimes I try to teach Lane, and as he is learning the business, I try to teach him or get him to understand what it does mean. Because again, there are some folks that no matter what their situation may be, And that's the other thing too that I love about this place that I've tried to continue on, that was built, that the foundation was there, is if you come through that door, it doesn't matter your race, your background, it doesn't matter your occupation, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. I tell my staff, and we're going to address you in the same manner. We're going to serve you in the same manner, and we're going to get on to you in the same manner. And we're going to treat you the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your financial, none of that matters.
It's never mattered. And I love this place because, I'm a former political warlord, and I'll sit in here with a bunch of staunch party members of one side. And then there'll be attorneys that are hardcore from the other side that you're like, these people ain't going to talk to each other. They walk over, they shake each other's hands, and they're giving business to each other because they realize that the community's better when they're all working together. But I think that we talked about East Ridge and it changing. And it's not just the Wallies out there. Edson's gone. John over at Epicurean's 165 years old at this point.
Yeah.
He probably ain't going to listen to that, so I feel better. Trey, I'm sorry. But it's different, right? And if we lose these places, what do we have left in our community? This is our vibrancy, and this is our soul to me. Like, look, I go to the courthouse all I want. I'm going to get more done with people that matter more in the community in this building than I am anywhere else. And that's kind of why I've tried to support it as much as I can. And you and your staff have been kind enough to let me come in here, and we want to try and do everything we can. Why don't you tell us a couple of things that maybe you've tried that didn't work so well that you had to pivot back to?
Well, there's a few things that we did down. I remember one thing that Tony did a while back. Well, unfortunately, Tony passed in August of 2018. Mm-hmm. He developed dementia, and he about 2015ish to 15, he started showing signs, and so that was a really rough, tough journey for us and for him. But I do remember a lot of things he taught me. A lot of things. He taught me how to treat people. Number one, he taught me how to run the operation and the business. But he also, I do remember one time I can't remember how, it's been a while back, but the water craze was, drink this big jug of water.
You're going to be healed.
Yeah, you're going to be
like
healed.
Ernest Angsley, you're just healed.
Yeah, you lose 80 pounds immediately if you drink this and drink that.
You become Jack LaLanne.
So we had folks that were coming in. Well, not only did they want water, but they wanted some lemon, and they wanted some Sweet and Low, and they're basically making some lemonade.
Yeah, they're making lemonade.
Absolutely.
Oh. So
it got under Tony's skin a little bit, and it just bothered him, and he's like, hey, I'm giving you this meat and three over here, and it's as inexpensive as I can get it. Mm-hmm. I'm, razor thin margins. And I was
going to say, wait, you don't have huge margins
here?
Yeah,
no, razor thin margins. And here you are coming in here ordering water. And so he come up with this great idea is we're going to charge 25 cents, but we're going to tell folks that it's not for the water. We're going to charge for the lemons.
Okay.
And the Sweet and Low.
Okay.
It didn't matter what you told him.
Didn't matter. Yeah, I believe that.
It didn't matter.
You're surcharging my water.
I begged him, and Tony was what made him great in business. He was very stubborn.
Dedicated, as they say.
It's dedicated is a great word to use. Mm-hmm. And he said, nope. He said, nope, I'm not changing it. And we had just people mad. I had a little old ladies cheering my ear off and telling me that they can't believe. And then they looked up from Tennessee American Water Company, and it's a penny a gallon, and you're
charging 25 times the going rate.
Yes,
okay.
You're charging 25 times, and blah blah blah. And I finally called him aside, and I talked to him, and I said, Tony, I don't know if this is the hill we want to die on.
Yeah, there is always going to be a hill, but maybe not this one.
And I said we could actually go up a quarter on our meat and three.
Nobody'd say a thing.
And nobody'd say a word.
Nobody noticed.
But the minute you start charging them for water, we weren't charged for water. We were charged for lemons.
That
water was still free.
Water was still free. It's just the lemon. So let me ask you, if I didn't want my lemon, I save a quarter.
Well, that was the problem, is that we had, if they ordered water,
you get a lemon.
You get a lemon, but then they would come, the servers would come to us and say, well, they don't want lemon. Do I not charge them for a quarter? And so it turned into a big thing. And I just said, Tony,
we got to move past this.
Can we just not? Yeah. So little things like that. And I don't want to sound I don't want to sound like there's never been anything that didn't work. We've had items on the menu before, and and I've had suggestions, and I've had different things, but for the most part, it's a basic meat and three.
Yeah.
And so as far as again, harkening back to Tony, the things that he taught me, he said it's pretty simple. It's good food at a reasonable price with good service. And he said, you do those three things and everything else will fall into place. He said, don't try to gouge people price wise. Don't cut back on your quality of food, and make sure that your staff understands to take care of people. And if you concentrate on those three things, you may not make a killing. You may not be able to, you might not make a fortune, but you're going to make a living.
The wolves are going to stay away from the door,
That's right.
right?
You're going to make a living. And so, whenever I sit down and I've had folks, I've had thoughts, and I've had, ideas, and you go to other places and you see, strawberry pecan
Special stuff.
walnut salad or whatever.
Adult Lunchables, charcuterie boards,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Stuff.
I've had thoughts. I'm like, maybe we'll do this. And I've had people, and I'm just like, it's a salad. We're going to call it a chef salad. It's either a grilled chicken salad or a fried chicken salad or a chef salad. We're not going to do that stuff because that's not our wheelhouse.
It's that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
You just got to find that.
It's the sweet spot, and you gotta know what you are and know who you are and try to do it well. And don't try to reinvent. I look back at the history, and, I think it's been the same thing, and I still, the insert that we do, it's, I'm still typing it out every morning.
I would be really upset if you changed that.
But it's simple. There's misspelled words on there.
It's great.
It is what it is.
But it adds to the, as the kids call it, the vibe or the character
absolutely.
or whatever.
Absolutely.
It is.
And there's not many places, and I joke with folks, and we have a list of vegetables, and you pick a meat, and you can get meat and 1, meat and 2, meat and 3 sides, and within those vegetables is banana pudding and peach cobbler.
So I'm glad you pivoted to that.
Yes.
I need to ask you this because you are the authority on all meat and 3, the man that I trust more than anybody. Does cobbler count as a vegetable?
It does at Wally's.
Okay.
It's in the vegetable list.
That I've always wanted some clarification.
Or you could really change the term. It doesn't count as a vegetable. It counts as a side.
As a side, yes.
Now, that side could be whatever that you want that side to be. But we do our cobbler, which is peach, blackberry, apple.
Don't forget pecan. That's the best.
Pecan is great, which, by the way, we can do that with ice cream if you want to.
It's hard to go back to work after that, though.
I understand. Well,
I've done it.
Well, we'll get you a little pillow on the
Manny
blanket.
Rico wanted me to tell you that you need hominy more. He said you used to have hominy more.
It was on the menu today.
Well, he wasn't in here to know.
Right.
One of us was.
Yes. So yeah, we'll have to let him know. But yeah, so you can get that. We still, and we still have the, like I said a while ago about the salads and the different things. Funny enough, so we talked a lot about the front of the house staff and the girls, and they're the first face you see, the last face you see, and they're the characters, and they make it go. But I have to mention my back of house.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got guys back there that have been with me. When we talked about doing this, I knew they'd been here a long time, so I just kind of walked around, just kind of asking, because just to get the exact number. Because I did show prep and, research and all for this,
Oh, yeah, I know. I hope you spent a large amount of time.
I did. But I got 3 guys that's been here 30 plus years.
That's amazing.
That work in the kitchen.
Working a hard job in the kitchen, too.
My main cook, young man named Steven. Steven started working here and he was 17.
That's awesome.
And we had, he actually trained under 2 different cooks. Older ladies that worked here, that grandma's style of cooking, and trained him, and that's the way he cooks. And People, if you walked in on a Saturday morning into my kitchen and you saw the operation, and I'm not saying that, hey, this is rocket science and, whatever, you can learn it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just an average person who's never been in the restaurant and you walk in and you look at what they're doing and how they're doing it and the amount of food that we are putting out in the period of time that we're putting out, it would blow your mind.
Oh, absolutely.
It would really blow your mind of how, I call it controlled chaos, of how everything works together. Now, listen, as in every place, there's problems. Everybody, there's fussing and complaining and, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like I said with the girls,
Yeah.
You get it out the door.
Yeah, that's right.
It's done. You get it out. But yeah, I've been very, very blessed for not only that Tony entrusted me and trained me and taught me, but also inherited a lot of those employees that were here when he was here and he was running the operation before he turned it over to me in about 2013 and 2014, before he actually started getting sick. So the people that are here are the ones that, front and back, that are just the lifeblood of it. I mean, they really are. And again, I talked about good food, but none of those things happen without those folks. There are days that you were talking about catering earlier, that we did some catering, some breakfast caterings, and it was a number of 400 people.
That's a big nut out of this kitchen in the morning, isn't
absolutely.
it?
And eat time was at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, goodness. So what time are y'all getting here?
My first cook got here at about 2:45.
That's the time I wake up. There ain't nobody but the devil up that early.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of people still up from the night before.
I was going to say, there's people making questionable decisions still.
At 2:45. Yeah. So, I mean, and fortunate for me, I don't have, because I have those, and they, I talk to them and I say, hey, we got this and we got this. And if the number of times that they've looked at me and said, we got you, boss.
Yeah.
We got you, and those type things, not only are they doing it because it's their job, but they're doing it because they have been taken care of from Tony and from me and my family. And it goes back to that thing I said about support.
They know you got their back.
Yes, they want to support us, which in turn helps them. A paycheck is great every week.
Well, for sure.
But it helps them. But they take it as personal, that they want to help me or us, and they want to do that for that. It's not just about a paycheck here.
And that's, I think, what draws just a really clear line. You've told me before, it's not like you haven't crossed the line, you're tap dancing on the other side of it, right? But I think it matters so much. I've had some people tell me, the ladies in the backroom staff are really great people, but they're providing for families out of here. And a lot of cases, and you can tell me I'm wrong, I've been told that there's been a couple of kids put through college out of Wally's just because of hard work, because this job was there for them.
Absolutely.
And 100%. That guy was here when I got here this morning, and that guy was next to last guy to leave when I left this afternoon. And the story I've been told, he won't ever tell me, was he came here and he wanted his kids to have a better life, and he believed in what Wally's was doing enough to be able to put his kids through that.
That's right.
And he gave them a better life because this community supported him same way.
Yeah.
It's just, it's awesome.
And in today's world and the financial, and there are folks that have the skill set that they have that could go to a corporate company and probably make $4 or $5 more per hour.
For sure.
100%. With the skill, maybe not starting out, but with the skill set that they have and the experience that they're going to be able to put down on their resume, they could make really good money. But I also tell folks, I won't list out the things, but I said there's certain things that happen here.
They ain't getting downsized here.
There's certain things that happen here as far as what I can do, because I don't have to answer to corporate.
You don't have HR except for your boss lady back
absolutely.
there.
Yeah, she's the only HR I have. But there's certain things that you're not going to get somewhere else.
That's right.
You may get $3 or $4 more an hour, but our hours. We're closed major holidays. We close at 3:00. As you can see today, we're out of here. The staff's out of here by 4:30. Yeah. You're home spending with your families. We close at 12 on Saturdays. We're closed on Sundays. Those things matter. Mm-hmm. Those things matter for me, but those things also matter because I could tell you this, not in a boastful manner. I could open up on Sundays, mm-hmm. and I could do very well.
I promise you do well out of the Trimble household.
I could do very well at the after church crowd. Mm-hmm. I could do very, very well. But there comes a point of when is enough enough?
Yeah, too much becomes a real thing, right? Like what you have has worked so well, and sure, as you said, an employee could go squeeze $4 or $5 more an hour. Sure, you squeeze a few extra $1,000 and a few extra covers on Sunday, but the quality of life changes for your staff, and I think that hurts you a whole lot more in a lot of other places than it does than you just serving old ladies in bee bonnets, meatloaf or catfish, which is both fabulous, by the way. I'm getting hungry sitting here.
Well, tomorrow is Catfish Day, so you'll have
That was my Wally's marketing promo.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great
Catfish Fridays.
Yes, great job.
So let me ask you this, and I've done my best everywhere we've gone to get somebody with a hook, right? Mm-hmm. And this is my hometown like it's your hometown. I got my list. What do you miss out of this community? And can you bring it back? And is it responsible to bring it back? What's something here that's no longer here?
Kind of put me on the spot here.
I do my best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, even though it would be direct competition, but more places like this.
Yep. So my list is odd, and it's just places like yours.
Right.
I think that Chattanooga, when it had Nicky's, Chattanooga when it had Town and Country, Chattanooga when it had Edson's, all of these places were community centers in different pockets for folks to go. Shoot, I went to Epicurean this week, took City Librarian over there. Super happy, but it took them, 5 years to get back to full staff. It didn't take you that long. And sure, it's different out there, but it ain't the same as it is down here. And I think the more of these places we lose, the more culture and the more vibe. And there's always been this thing in Nashville with all this new money and all these people. I can't afford to even drive up there nowadays, but keep Nashville weird, right? The natives were concerned like I am here. And sure, I love change and I like tacos, but I need more places like this where I can go break bread. I used to sit at Nicky's right next to Judge Walter Williams, mm-hmm. twice a week when I was a heftier man, and we would talk trash. Went before him in court a couple of times, never gave me a ticket. Thank you for that, sir. Miss you a whole lot. But yeah, this town is great, but I hope as we move forward that we prioritize what made this town great. Sure, we want a forward-thinking vision, like I want spaceships just like everybody else. But the day that I can't come to Wally's, or the day I can't go to Countryside Cafe, I don't really want to be here anymore.
Right. Well, and for me too, it's not only restaurants for me. It's it's like, for example, I live in East Brander. There's an Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
It's a little bit closer, but I would prefer to go to Ace than I would Lowe's, because it seems more of a local.
I do not like big box.
Right.
I do not like
and I'm not knocking.
No, not
knocking those, but like you said,
I love Walmart.
Yeah, those things are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And in the hustle and the bustle of everything going on, but there's something to be said about a locally owned and operated, which I think is a very key word. There's a lot of places that are locally owned,
but they're operated not out of here.
But they're not operated out of here.
Elevator permits on file in the office.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So locally owned and operated, to me, I know, people come in, they know me. Blows my mind that they actually want to speak to me and they want me to come over to their table and say hi. Blows my mind, but they do, and I try to accommodate that. But it's somewhere when you walk in that they may not know your name, but they know you, and they know you by the way they look at you.
That's right.
You're not just a body. You're not just a ticket. You're not just an order. You're a person that they recognize. And so I think those things are very, very important that we try and listen. And it can be it doesn't have to be a coming up on 89 years, by the way. It doesn't have to be something that's 90 years old. It doesn't have to be a Wally's or a Zarzar's. You can have that. You can create that, but you don't try to make a corporate establishment.
The first thing that I think of is cold and everything comes from a bag, right?
Right.
All I want to do is talk to somebody that goes home and sleeps in East Brainerd that has the ability to sign that check for that business. Like, that's the kind of stuff I think that matters. And look, I know you got way more important stuff to do than talk to me when I come in here.
Absolutely not. I enjoy this.
But I can't count on one hand the amount of times that you've never come out here and shook my hand. And even in those cases when your hair, what little hair you have left is on fire, you give me a wave, you holler at me from across the, and that's 30% of the reason I come here, because I know that people gonna know who I am. And I always make this halfway morbid joke is, you know, John Gotti needed the Ravenite Club, but I'm not hard to find. So if the mob's ever trying to hit me, you know, I always keep my back to the wall in this place.
Facing the door.
That's right. So, you know, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, not for doing this, but I appreciate for what you do in the community. Thank you for letting me come hang out in here with that group of vagabonds or whatever you want to call them. It's a highlight of my week every time I'm in here. So thanks for being a part of the volunteer roadmap. And ladies and gentlemen, don't cut out on us early. We're going to head back to the studio to debrief. You know, Gary and I sat down and we talked about a lot of things that have worked and what haven't worked for his business. And change is hard, otherwise everybody would do it, right? So in a restaurant world where your food and beverage costs continue to go through the roof, how do you continue to provide quality? We talked a lot with Gary about some things they have done in the past. They had a little bit of a debacle a number of years ago where they actually put a surcharge on your water. Probably not the best idea hindsight, because people say, hey, you're surcharging my water, when all you had to really do was raise the food cost a little bit. People understand that things cost a little bit more. We're not out here making gold bullion. We're here serving quality food. The atmosphere matters as much as the marketing and the price, but how you market these changes to your customers really truly can make a difference. If you just say, hey, we're going to add a 7% surcharge onto your bill, we're going to add a minimum tip fee onto your bill, things like that are easier than you surcharging the water and the lemon. Now, I understand the other side of it, right? Like, everybody wants something for nothing in this world. And we talked a lot about off camera about some of the other things that they've had to do. You know, you're coming into a restaurant and it's their goal to turn covers, right? You want to turn those tables as many times as you can to try and boost the revenue, not only for the restaurant, but for the servers. So you're not going to find a lot of charging stations and charging blocks in the walls next to the tables, because this isn't a coffee shop. Gary has a family to feed. He's got property taxes in the city of Chattanooga and in the county. But more importantly, the longer that you sit there, the less revenue his staff, who keeps the operation going, has. And guess what? With healthcare premiums tripling, and I've spoken to a lot of those ladies down there, they have to be able to outrun that difference. So if you're not turning those tables and you're not tipping, I don't know what to tell you. It's hard to survive in today's world. So we have to start thinking about our positioning in the community and what matters. Y'all, if you like this episode and you want to hear more, subscribe to the podcast. We've got a whole bevy of wonderful people coming up to talk to you about why our state is so great. Y'all have a great day.